Welcome back to the Coach Roach podcast. Doing another live covering more of the NBA draft and my top 10 big board. I'll be releasing a bunch of big boards from now until the draft, and something that I like to do on a yearly basis. Love this time of year if you're an NBA fan of the draft. Been watching them basically since like 2003, so it's a long time ago, 23 years ago sounds about right. But I want to release a big board. At Basketball Rewind, we are going to be having Tyler Rucker eventually uh, join our show when he's back from the combine in Chicago, and hoping to have James Barlow back on again. It would be nice too to add another guest as well at some point. But we will be doing a lot of draft content at Basketball Rewind, and for my own show, I'm going to be having a guest Friday night. Mike Roach of the Mike Roach podcast does a great job in covering the Raptors and his insights and connections to former Raptors and just how he has covered the team over the last few years himself. So that'll be great to have him on the show. We'll discuss the Raptors and the draft coming up and hope to have more guests in the future. But he'll be kind of a first guest outside of some of the Basketball Rewind guys, and certainly they'll be back on as well. But want to release my first top 10 draft big board of 2026. Now, this is based on videos, combine numbers, and NBA projectable skills. So, my number one on the big board, which I think is everyone's, should be probably the number one everyone's big board, is one AJ Dybantsa. Played at Utah Prep, played at BYU this year, and there's a team in Utah that I'm sure would want him, and they've invested a lot of money in him and bringing him to Utah to play prep and to try to get him to BYU, and now they want him on the Jazz. Like, makes total sense. But Dybantsa, I think, is the number one best prospect right now in this draft. When I see Dybantsa play, I see a little bit of Paul George. I see a little bit of Tracy McGrady back in the day. I would say probably those two I see the most. I've heard some people say even a little bit of RJ Barrett as well, like little flashes of it. But I think it's more Paul George and T Mac. I think Dybantsa's work ethic this year, especially once the Richie Saunders went down for BYU, it really picked up, and he did a great job with BYU. The Washington Wizards, you can rejoice now. Your GM, Michael Winger, I think he's done a phenomenal job at trying to rebuild the Washington Wizards. With Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Canadian citizenship he has, I should say. Will Riley, another Canadian. Bilal Coulibaly, Bub Carrington. They just added Trae Young. They just added Anthony Davis. Now you're getting a 6'9", two-way player, elite physical tools, ball skills. He's dynamic, shot making. He's probably going to be a superstar in this league. Do I think he's generational? Probably not, but I think he's franchise changing. Maybe it's a little similar to Cooper Flag as of now. But on the year, he averaged over 25, which is impressive for a college kid, especially as a freshman. 7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, almost half a block, shot 51% from the field, 35 games for BYU. This guy has been talked about just as much as Cooper Flag has been talked about for the last couple of years. It's been these two drafts, last year's draft and this year's draft, that's spoken at length for 2 or 3 years now. And this is a deep draft. But I think Dybantsa, number one. He's number one on my big board. And I think Washington will select him unless they decide to trade down. And they could get a haul for him from Utah. Utah probably is the only one who will make many, many phone calls to see what it would take to get Dybantsa to I don't know what they call Utah kind of state. I know it's kind of a Rocky Mountain state a little bit, but anyway, to get him to Utah, a team that never gets superstars, and now they have a potential superstar one pick away from them. They're going to go all out. I would think anyway. Number two prospect. Some people will disagree with me on this one. Shout out to Beyond. We are North Carolina guys. We've been big Tar Heel fans for a long time. Caleb Wilson, I think, is the second best prospect in this draft. I think he's got unbelievable potential. I think he could be I think the ceiling could be Kevin Garnett for him. Before he went down at North Carolina, like he had them playing really good basketball. 20 points a game, almost 10 rebounds, almost 3 assists, almost 2 steals, and a block and a half. 58%. Like these literally look like Kevin Garnett numbers. We're watching more film of Caleb Wilson. He's going to just adapt to the NBA game so well moving forward. I think his two-way ability on offense and defense makes him the number 2 pick. Now, people are going to say, well, maybe we see him at 3, but you know what? I get him at 2. I don't know how you could pass up on this kid. The kid's got a good mindset. He wants to be great. He doesn't care where he goes. There's no questions of on-court issues or off-court issues with him. I would love to see him. He's not going to go to Utah for the record, but I think he's the second best prospect right now. And the Memphis Grizzlies, who I think will get him at 3, are getting a very good basketball player. Two-way ability, which you need in this league. So I'm going with him. I like the versatility. I like the combination of size, athleticism, defensive playmaking, good passing, feel. Again, I see this guy, and I'm just like, man, that's Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett for this time, for the record. People who are older will understand. I don't know if he's got quite the, I'm going to, hit myself a lot when I'm on the court, and I don't, or to help get yourself pumped up by doing that. I don't think he's going to do that, but just an unbelievable talent. So, on my big board, number 2, without question. But there's a reason why he's number 2. And it's because of this next prospect who I have number 3. Darren Peterson. Okay. He's been hyped for a couple of years. Unbelievable high school talent. Good numbers at the combine. I think he's about 6'5" without shoes. He says he's a point guard. I see him as a 2 guard. Averaged 20 points a game. Shot 38% from 3. Only played 24 games this year. Now, Peterson probably is going to go to Utah, assuming that there's no trade made. He could fit, honestly, on either team. He could fit on Washington or Utah. You could put him next to Trae Young. You could put him next to Keontae George. If Darren Peterson had played a full year, and I apologize, I spelled his name wrong. It's not the Darren that we're maybe typically spelled. It's spelled this way. Had he played a full season, no on-court issues of playing games. Apparently he had cramping because he took too much creatine. If he played the full season, we might be looking at the number one pick in the draft. I compare him as like a Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards type basketball player. And there's this narrative again. He was a point guard. I don't see him. I think he's a shooting guard. He's got creation potential. He's going to put up points. I think he does everything just well on the basketball court. He's probably the type of prospect that NBA teams just dream of. It's like, oh, that guy could be a superstar. And I think he could be a superstar. But I get questions. I get questions around his availability. How do I know I'm not going to get that in the NBA, what he just did at Kansas this year? That's why I got to have him at 3, and he's under Caleb Wilson now. I'm not denying the talent. Talent's unbelievable, but I do question, the availability, his desire to play. I mean, if you don't want to play at Kansas, which, that's like playing for the Knicks right now in college basketball, big time program. And I question that type of, maybe I don't like using the word mentality, but maybe I will use it because we've seen a lot of them in the NBA who are supremely talented, but you don't know what they're going to bring from night to night, or if they're going to bring like themselves that game, right? They're going to just sit out. So he's a big question mark for, I think, for some of the teams at the top. Do we take him? Can we trust him? But I can't trust him to be the number 2 on my big board right now. Most people will have him number 2 or number 1. I got him at number 3. Unbelievably talented, but the availability is going to come into question. Now, if he does play a lot, then it's a steal probably for a team. Number 4, after Darren Peterson, we have, and I will edit this. Okay, we have 1. Oh, I apologize here, people. There we go. We have 1 Cameron Boozer of Duke University, son of Carlos Boozer, who was a very good basketball player. I like Cameron Boozer. There's something safe about him if you were to select him. I can see him going to Memphis. I can see him playing in Chicago. Cameron Boozer right now is 4th on my big board. Great year at Duke. I think he had 20, I have to check here for a second. Yeah. He averaged 22.5 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal and a half. 39% from 3, 55% from the field, almost 80% from the free throw line. When I look at Boozer, I see maybe a Paolo Banchero, someone, gifted offensively, good footwork. I think his physicality around the basket is going to create problems for the defense. He processes the game well. Great rebounder, as I said. There's playmaking ability. There's shooting upside as well. I actually had Cam Boozer the first few months of the season as my number 1 pick. Now, some of the combine measurements came back. He's about 6'8.5" with barefoot. Basically, he's not as tall as I thought that he would be, but he still can be an elite power forward in this league. I don't know if I see superstar, but I see all-star. He's going to make some all-star teams for sure. And there's a stability about him, I think, that can be intriguing for a lot of teams. You kind of know what you're going to get with Cam Boozer. I think he's got a very high floor. The ceiling, I don't know if it's as high as Caleb Wilson's or Darren Peterson, but his floor is probably good. It's going to be very high. So he would be a great pick at number 4 for a team. So Number 4 on my big board. Number 5. Probably my favorite guard right now in the draft. Trying to figure this out. Oops. And that's Braden Burries. Guard out of Arizona. I think he came in at about 6'5" in shoes, which I think is important always to know that. Averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, almost 2 steals per game, shot 39% from 3 and almost 50% from the field on 80% free throw shooting. Played about 30 minutes this year at Arizona. I watched the tournament a fair amount, and I tried to catch Arizona games, and this kid just really stood out to me. There's a big, strong, skilled, athletic point guard. I think a team would be very lucky in the top. They're probably somewhere between 5 and 10 to get this kid. I look at a team like Sacramento or Brooklyn. They could use him. They got the pick 6 and 7. Pick 5, I'd have to check who pick 5 is again. I don't know why it's slipping my mind right now. Pick 5 is the Clippers. And I can make an argument for that place too. But I do see potentially a Brooklyn, a Sacramento, maybe an Atlanta, a Dallas, like basically anywhere from 6 to 9. He's probably going to go in that range. But I have him number 5 right now on my big board. I think the combination of athleticism, strength, mobility, shooting touch, off-ball shooter, he can create off the dribble. He's just a bucket. He's a bucket getter. He can score. He could defend. I think he's got the big body. He could defend probably 1 through 3 fairly well. He just really stood out to me as a big game player. And he is number 5 on my big board. And it wouldn't shock me by the end of this process if I move him up to the 4th selection. Okay. We got 5 left to go. And now our next one at number 6. We got someone who played for a coach whose players always have success. And that's Darius Acuff Jr. Guard of Arkansas. Unbelievable talent. He also could be higher on my list. It wouldn't shock me if he was. 23.5 points per game, 6.5 assists, almost a steal, 44% from 3, 48% from the field. I have him at 6, and I think he should, go 6 or 7. Brooklyn and Sacramento desperately need talent, but I think this kid could be a bit of a combo guard. I like him at point because he's such a dynamic athlete. He can make jump shots. I love his shot form. The dribble pull-up game is really good. Just dynamic, electric scoring. He's going to be a boost to someone's team. He's going to be able, I think, to create a lot for his teammates on the floor just based on the gravity he's likely going to create. And he's going to solve a lot of offensive problems for a team. Brooklyn, you could play him next to Yegor Demon. Sacramento, you need everything, so you definitely could play him as a guard. And dynamic guards really do well in this league. I think it's a guard-driven league. Wing players win championships, but I still think it's a guard-driven league. And Darius Acuff Jr., he had a 40-point game in overtime. He was just, if you watch that game in Arkansas play, it was crazy. Just a truly dynamic talent. And again, if a team said, you know what, we're picking him at 4, I Wouldn't be shocked. Maybe the Bulls want to pair him and Josh Giddey together. Maybe Memphis really wants to take the big swing and say, see you later, John Morant. There's our new point guard. We're going to have Darius and Cuff and Cedric Coward in the backcourt for the next 10 years. I'd just be like, whoa. I might become a Memphis Grizzlies fan soon. The next one that we're going to have, number 7. Been hearing more and more about this kid. Like his size, like his shot form. And that's Keaton Wagler out of Illinois. Good player, good size, 18 a game, 5 rebounds, almost 5 assists, almost a steal, 40% from 3, 45% from the field. Big guards, everyone looks for them. And me being a college coach for a few years, we even looked for big guards as well. We didn't look for 5'10" point guards or even 6. Everyone in college would love to have a 6 foot to 6'5" point guard. Sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't. He's 6'6", roughly. I think he barefoot's like 6'5.5". But he was an unbelievable player in Illinois this year. High intelligent player, 6'6" guard. Led Illinois to a Final Four appearance, and just a dynamic offensive player. He could fit with the Clippers, and I think that's probably where he's going to go. I think you could put him next to Garland, still keep Kawhi. Clippers need a lot, I think, but this is a kid who probably could go number 5, and he's got some nice shooting touch. And a team, I think, would be quite lucky to have him. That's for sure. But, yeah, I see him probably going in the top 5. For me, I think that I have him number 7 on my big board. He's very good. I just don't know if he's got that dynamic burst like a Cuff Jr. or a Braden Burries have. But he's good. He's just a different type of guard compared to those guys. Number 8. My guy, Tyler Rucker, shout out to him from No Ceilings. His man, Kingston Flemings. We know the reports coming out of the Combine is that he has been playing very, very well at the Combine. He's been performing well. He's shooting ball well, great vertical. Kingston Flemings, I have him at number 8 on my big board. It's still hard for me to put him ahead of a Cuff and Burries, but I do like him. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 47% from the field, 39% from 3. Very good passer. He might be one of the best passers in this draft. He's a very good athlete as well. I think my concern with him is he's quite small. I'm not comparing him to like Cole Anthony, because I think he processes the game differently and at a higher level. But I think that part of him kind of concerns me. It's not the decision making. I think he's a very, offensively great at doing that. But I do think he needs to be in that right spot. And whoever drafts him might be drafting the starting point guard. Some people are looking at like the Milwaukee Bucks, for example. Could he fit there, assuming Giannis is still on the team? Yeah. I think he provides a high level of stability for a team as well. You draft him, you get a bit of a direction. You get yourself a floor general, per se. None of these fake ones that really are combo guards. I look at him and I think he's a point guard. I think he's just going to grow into be a very good NBA player. Could he make a couple All-Star teams? Maybe. We'll see what he's like. I heard a little comparison. He might be a little bit of a Tyrese Halliburton. I think that's fair. I don't think he's dynamic like some of the other guards, but I think he's very good. Right. He could be running the point guard on a team that could win a championship, or at least compete with one. So, good player, Mr. Flemings, that's for sure. Okay, Number 9, and his name keeps being brought up. I think he's performing much better than maybe some people thought. And that's Ade Mara, Michigan University champion, starting center, 7'3", barefoot, incredibly skilled. I think some people like him a Marc Gasol type. The very, very high end would be Jokic. I don't know if he'd be quite there, but I could see him being a Marc Gasol type center. He has incredible instincts. He great post game inside. He averaged about 12 points, almost 7 rebounds, almost 3 blocks. When you draft him, you're drafting someone who can have an incredible impact on your team. He's probably outside of Wilson and Boozer going to be the next big selected, in my opinion. He's going to be someone who's going to protect the rim, alter shots at a very high level, and you have someone who could be a legitimate two-way building block at both ends of the floor. You'd be able to run an offense through him, and I think he's certainly going to be able to provide that elite rim protection. Now, at pick 9, I don't know who has pick 9, not that it matters with a big board, but it's Dallas. Dallas is not going to select him. I could see the Clippers selecting him. I could see him going as high as 5, although I don't think it will happen. I could see him maybe going to Atlanta. I definitely could see that. I don't think a Kongwu is big enough. And this kid, again, can make a big difference. I could see him going to Milwaukee. Maybe if they're able to move off Turner. Golden State. Well, if they move off Porzingis, I don't know if he's a free agent or not, but that also could happen. So Ade Mara, champion, center, 7'3". I think he's looking like he's going to go in the top 10. And our last and final guy of our show is someone I really liked, but he's had some injuries. And that's Mikel Brown Jr. Point guard, Louisville. Dynamic. Highly talented point guard. He is going to be a high-risk, high-reward player. I could see him going to Dallas. Not sure where else I could see him going in that draft. Maybe Sacramento, maybe Brooklyn. He's listed at about 6'5". Again, I think that's in shoes. He did average 18 points, 3 rebounds, almost 5 assists, a little over a steal. Only played 21 games this year. And the big concern with Mikel Brown Jr. is his back. We've seen how back injuries have affected some very good players. Well, Michael Porter Jr., who was the number 1 high school prospect at one time, but had back issues, and that's why he fell in the draft. And ultimately, I think it's going to be Mikel Brown Jr.'s draft stock as well. Will not be as high as what it could be, or the reflection of his talent, because if he hits, he could be a top 5 talent in this draft. But there are some concerns over the back. You're looking at a guy with a combination of athleticism, good size, playmaking, great form. I don't know if I have a comparison to him yet, but he is in the mold of the big guard, maybe like similar to a Dame Lillard. Get that kind of ability. Again, a team could get very lucky selecting him, or if he's hurt a lot, then it's going to be a bit of a wasted pick. Is he a guy that could fall out of the top 10? He is. I definitely could see that. Could a team take a chance on him between like 5 and 10 or 6 and 10? I definitely think he'll go in that range. But he's number 10 right now on my big board. Dynamic score. And there's so many dynamic guard scorers in this draft. Burries, Cuff, Cal Brown Jr., Flemings, and another guy I don't have in my top 10, but shout out to Kenyon, is LeBaron Philon. He's another guy who could go in the top 10, but I think he's going to go anywhere between 10 and 15 range because he's a bigger point guard, sophomore, had a very good year at Alabama. But so, yeah, that's my top 10 for my big board as of now. And again, it's always subject to change from now until the draft. But I think one of my biggest things is I have Caleb Wilson number 2 on my big board. And I think he is right now the second best prospect in this draft, someone that you're going to be able to depend on to play. And if Darren Peterson does play, and there's the concerns about availability go down, then he'll probably rise up. We'll see how that looks. But right now, Caleb Wilson's number 2, and I'm sticking with it. Okay. Folks, thank you very much. Not sure if anybody tuned in, but thank you anyway. And we'll see you around. Please tune in Friday night. We'll have Mike Roach on to discuss the Raptors and more of the draft. Take care, everyone.